In today's video, I bring you 3 stories that subscribers of the channel have sent in for me to read. 2 of them are quite unique, and perhaps the most interesting that have ever been shared with me by our community, while the third one includes UFO footage. The first story comes from Queensland, Australia, by a subscriber who wrote to me under the pseudonym Roman after my Giants of Magellan video garnered some popularity. I have to admit that I've never heard anything like what he told me, and I've heard a lot of stories which could be labeled paranormal or supernatural. Sometime in early 2020, Roman was shopping in one of his local grocery stores when he turned around a corner and suddenly stood face to face with an approximately 8 to 10 feet, or roughly 3 meters tall human, or at least something strongly resembling a human. Roman described the creature the following way. It was impossible to tell from its face whether it was a man or a woman. Despite this, he had very muscular arms and thighs, and for a moment he thought he was seeing some sort of a bodybuilder. The creature had black hair, which it wore in this medieval monastic style. The color of his skin was described by Roman as silvery. He wore a black tight bodysuit with a wide leather belt with a large disc-shaped object in the middle. However, it wasn't the creature's appearance that was the strangest of all, or its height, or the fact that Roman stumbled upon it right in the middle of a busy shop, but rather the fact that there were other people around the creature, and yet it seemed none of them could see this giant standing amongst them. Roman stared in astonishment at it for a while, then looked away for a moment, and when he turned back, the giant had disappeared like it was never there. A few days after the incident, Roman was traveling by car with one of his relatives when they pulled over to check the GPS. As soon as they stopped, the driver's side window suddenly exploded into the interior of the car without seemingly any reason at all. Roman's relative was quite lucky and got away with minor injuries despite sitting next to the exploding window, and they were even luckier considering that this happened right after they stopped and not while they were driving. But who knows? Maybe luck had nothing to do with it at all. Roman also mentioned that throughout his life, he has had numerous experiences of sleep paralysis from time to time, and shortly before and after the aforementioned incident with the creature in the shop and the car, he had several such experiences. He told me that one time he woke up hearing a strong, loud sound right next to his ear, which he could best compare to a dog barking or the sound of an explosion. On another occasion, he had a lucid dream in which a sort of presence stood on his chest as if it was trying to suffocate him, and another night he woke up to find a very tall black entity standing at the end of his bed. He said that this entity looked as if it was wearing a fully covered black garment of a Muslim woman. Well, if what Roman describes to me is true, the question arises whether all these events are connected to each other or not. Something makes me think that they are. The following story centers around a UFO sighting which comes from a village called St. Mihalifa in Slovakia. What makes this sighting interesting is the fact that the phenomenon was captured by one of the house's security cameras. Here's what the eyewitness wrote. Quote, "I just came home from a bike ride and thought I'd take a walk in the garden. After a few minutes, 2 very bright spheres came at high speed towards my residence. I was about to go inside to tell the others to come and see the UFOs, when they took a quick right turn and disappeared into the darkness. Unfortunately, in the video I sent you, only the end of the show can be seen in the upper right corner. I didn't have my cell phone with me. You know, it's usually like this, but you can imagine what a sight it was. The next day, I checked the news portals to see if they were writing about this phenomenon, but unfortunately there was silence about it. I have to note that there was no wind, which you can also see on the tree. It doesn't even move. So a lamp or a balloon or any similar explanation can be ruled out. They were too big, bright, and fast for that anyway." End of quote. I linked the video in the description. Anyway, I asked the letter writer if he had seen anything unusual in the area besides the orbs, or if he had heard of anyone else seeing such a thing. He replied that he was once riding his motorcycle around the village when he noticed a huge white rectangular device moving slowly in the sky. He estimated that the dimensions of the white brick-like object were 200 by 50 by 50 meters, but he couldn't see it for long because it quickly disappeared among the clouds. The last story was shared by a user named VikingSchooled in the comment section of the Giants of Magellan video. According to his claim, when he was 14 years old, he was out one night in a swampy wooded area around his home. Suddenly, he heard something running towards him in the shallow water. He had time to get his flashlight and shine it towards the sound. The commenter was expecting an animal, but what he saw that night could best be described with the following word: Gnome. The creature ran through the area in front of him at a distance of around maybe 15 meters, so he only saw it from the side. It was a humanoid figure, about 70 to 90 centimeters, or 2.5 to 3 feet tall. It had blonde hair, a longer, more pointed nose than that of humans, and dirty, grayish skin. He looked a bit like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. In terms of clothes, he was wearing a pointy red cap, a sleeveless, dirty light t-shirt, and brown leather pants. VikingSchooled could also see that this creature had some sort of shoes not unlike the slaves from Command and Conquer generals.
Can I have some shoes?
There must be quite a few of you now who think, come on man, gnomes? Giant werewolves and aliens are fine, but fucking goblins? We crossed the line of believability. This attitude is completely understandable, and there is nothing wrong with it. But I don't think it is my place to decide whether someone's story is true or not, especially considering that I have experienced a few things which many would deem unbelievable. But back to VikingSchooled. According to his comment, the morning after the sighting, he went back to the area where he saw the gnome in the evening, and according to his statement, he found small 10 to 13 centimeter long footprints on the ground. This means that if the creature had human proportions, it would have been around 67 to 86 centimeters tall. That's it for today's video. As always, if you have seen anything strange that you want to share, or maybe get your story told in one of these videos, or if you just have questions, feel free to write to the email address in the description. Thanks for watching.
Can I have some shoes? I like my new shoes. These shoes fit nicely. Thank you for the new shoes.